Welcome back. In today's video, we dive into The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli, a timeless guide to power and politics. We'll unpack its key teachings and their relevance in modern times. Let's unravel the essence of Machiavellian wisdom. Join us. Let's delve into Chapter 1, where Machiavelli categorizes principalities as either hereditary, passed through generations, or new, those conquered or created anew. He also discusses the various methods of acquiring power, highlighting the roles of personal virtue and fortune. During the early 1500s, Italy was not the unified country we know today. Instead, it was divided into a patchwork of city-states and kingdoms, each with its own ruler, government, and military forces. These city-states, such as Florence, Venice, and Milan, along with the papal states controlled by the Pope and the Kingdom of Naples, were often in conflict with one another, vying for territory, power, and influence. Machiavelli, living through these turbulent times, was acutely aware of the challenges of governance and power dynamics in such a fragmented and competitive landscape. Machiavelli's categorization reflects the complex tapestry of political entities that made up Italy during his lifetime. According to him, hereditary principalities are those ruled by a family lineage, where power is passed down from generation to generation. New principalities, on the other hand, were states acquired through conquest, marriage, or other means by individuals who did not inherit their position. The Medici family's ability to rule Florence across generations showcases the stability hereditary principalities can offer, leveraging long-standing traditions and loyalty. In contrast, Napoleon Bonaparte, who rose through personal merit and military conquest, exemplifies the challenges and opportunities of new principalities. His rapid ascent and subsequent establishment of an empire demonstrate the potential for significant impact through personal ability, but also the inherent instability of new rule, as seen in his eventual downfall. By understanding the distinct challenges and opportunities associated with hereditary and new principalities, Machiavelli provided a framework for analyzing and exercising political power that remains relevant to discussions of leadership and governance even today. Thus, Chapter 1 leads us to a fundamental principle: power's dual paths, hereditary versus new. In Chapter 2, Machiavelli sheds light on the dynamics of ruling states passed down through lineage. He points out the relative ease of maintaining power in such realms, thanks to established traditions and the ingrained loyalty of the people. Machiavelli's key advice for rulers of hereditary principalities is to maintain the status quo and respect the traditional institutions. This approach, he argues, ensures stability and continuity, which are essential for the seamless transition and enduring authority. A great example is Queen Elizabeth II's long reign that demonstrated the strength of hereditary principalities through stable leadership and adherence to tradition. Contributing to the monarchy's continued relevance and support in modern Britain, her ability to adapt to changing times while maintaining the monarchy's traditional role has helped prevent significant unrest or calls for abolishment, illustrating Machiavelli's point about the stability offered by hereditary rule. The chapter culminates in a succinct principle: preserve and prosper, the power of tradition in hereditary rule. In Chapter 3, Mixed Principalities, Machiavelli examines the complexities faced by a ruler who annexes new territories to his existing dominion. These states are new to the prince, but are now part of his larger realm. The challenge, as Machiavelli sees it, lies in effectively integrating and maintaining control over these diverse territories. The key to success in mixed principalities, according to Machiavelli, is a combination of strength and adaptability. The ruler must be strong enough to assert control, but adaptable enough to accommodate the differences in culture, laws, and traditions of the new territories. This delicate balance is crucial for gaining the loyalty of new subjects and preventing rebellion. The Roman Empire's strategy of integrating conquered territories through Roman law, culture, and citizenship rights helped to maintain control over diverse regions. This approach reduced rebellion and fostered loyalty among conquered peoples. Rome's ability to adapt its governance to include new territories under a common framework demonstrates the effectiveness of Machiavelli's advice on ruling mixed principalities, leading to a long-lasting empire. Machiavelli's insights in this chapter lead us to the principle number 3, which is strength and adaptability, key to ruling mixed principalities. In Chapter 4, Machiavelli explores the stability of kingdoms with centralized power structures. Using the historical example of Alexander the Great's conquest of the Persian Empire, he explains why such empires often remain stable under new leadership. Machiavelli argues that in states where power is centralized, like Darius's kingdom, the populace is less inclined to rebel against a new ruler. This is because the fundamental structure and operation of the government remain intact, even with a change in leadership. The people are accustomed to a certain mode of governance, and as long as that is maintained, they are likely to show less resistance to the new ruler. Just like how Alexander's establishment of a centralized administrative system in the conquered Persian Empire allowed his successors to maintain control with less resistance. This centralized approach minimized the likelihood of rebellion by keeping the existing governance structure intact, demonstrating Machiavelli's insight into the stability provided by such systems. From this chapter, we derive the principle: centralized continuity, stability in leadership transitions. In Chapter 5, Machiavelli offers strategies for ruling over territories that were previously independent and had their own laws. This scenario presents unique challenges, as the people in these areas are accustomed to a certain degree of autonomy and specific legal systems. Machiavelli advises rulers of newly acquired states to consider this three strategies, such as establishing their residency within the conquered territory, setting up colonies, or creating dependencies. By residing in the new territory, a ruler can directly oversee the governance and swiftly address any issues. Colonies serve as a means of exerting control and influence, while dependencies keep the local leaders loyal and aligned with the ruler's interests. The British attempt to integrate India into the empire while allowing certain local laws and customs to remain showcase the challenges of governing previously autonomous territories. Although British rule in India lasted for almost 2 centuries, growing discontent over foreign control and disregard for local traditions eventually led to India's struggle for independence. This underscores Machiavelli's advice on the importance of balancing new governance with respect for existing traditions to maintain control. Thus, the principle derived from this chapter is localized leadership, strategies for managing annexed territories. In Chapter 6, Machiavelli delves into the significance of personal skill and military prowess in establishing new principalities. This chapter praises leaders who rise to power not through fortune or inheritance, but through their own virtue, strategic acumen, and military strength. Machiavelli emphasizes that acquiring new territories through one's own efforts and abilities is a true testament to a leader's capability. He admires those who can navigate the complexities of power, warfare, and strategy using their own talents and resources. This approach, according to Machiavelli, not only ensures the stability of the new principality, but also garners respect and loyalty from the subjects, as the ruler's competence and strength are evident. In history, Caesar's ascent to power in Rome through his military conquests and strategic alliances exemplifies Machiavelli's lesson on the effectiveness of personal ability in establishing new principalities. However, Caesar's eventual assassination highlights the risks associated with such rapid ascents to power, underlining the importance of securing loyalty and managing newly acquired power carefully. The principle from this chapter is encapsulated as merit and might, the pillars of self-built power. In Chapter 7, Machiavelli turns his attention to principalities that are gained not by personal merit, but through luck or the assistance of others. He provides a critical view of such acquisitions, cautioning that they are often unstable and challenging to maintain. Machiavelli argues that when a ruler comes to power largely through fortunate circumstances or the backing of powerful allies, they may lack the intrinsic strength and loyalty from their subjects necessary for lasting rule. This reliance on external factors, rather than personal capability and leadership skills, makes their position vulnerable and susceptible to quick reversals of fortune. The instability of puppet governments installed by colonial powers, such as in Vietnam by France and in various African nations by European colonizers, illustrates Machiavelli's warning about the fragility of power acquired through others. These regimes often lacked legitimacy and support from the local populace, leading to resistance and eventual overthrow. This leads us to the principle of the chapter, fragile foundations, the risk of power gained by fortune. In Chapter 8, Machiavelli explores a more controversial path to power, the ascent through wicked or criminal actions. He delves into the historical instances where individuals have used nefarious means to gain authority and control. While Machiavelli does not explicitly condone such actions, he acknowledges the reality of their effectiveness in certain historical contexts. He offers an unflinching analysis of how, in some cases, cruelty, deceit, and even violence have been instrumental in securing power. His examination is less about moral judgment and more about the pragmatic outcomes of these actions in the ruthless world of political power. This reflects a part of history about Stalin's rise to power, marked by political purges and manipulation, and demonstrates the potential effectiveness of Machiavelli's acknowledged ascent through wicked means. However, the long-term impact included widespread fear, suffering, and the eventual stagnation of the Soviet Union, suggesting that such methods can secure power temporarily, but at great cost. From this chapter, we extract the principle, the cost of power, ascension through unscrupulous means. In Chapter 9, Machiavelli addresses a different route to power, ascending to leadership through the favor and support of fellow citizens. This chapter focuses on the dynamics of gaining authority in a more civil and communal manner, as opposed to the use of force or deceit. Machiavelli stresses the crucial role of popular support in establishing a stable rule. He points out that winning the favor of the people can be a more sustainable and less contentious path to power compared to other methods. Alongside this, he also discusses the importance of managing the nobility, balancing their interests with those of the populace, to maintain harmony and avoid conflicts that could destabilize the principality. Just like how Lincoln's reliance on popular support and his efforts to unite the United States during the Civil War embody Machiavelli's principle of gaining power through favor of the citizens. His leadership during a period of great division and his measures to abolish slavery won him enduring respect and admiration, showcasing the strength of civil principalities rooted in popular consent. The key principle derived from this chapter is popular consent, the foundation of civil rule. In Chapter 10, Machiavelli presents a clear and pragmatic view on the bedrock of a principality's strength, its military might. He emphasizes that the core of a state's power lies in its ability to defend itself and assert its will through a strong and well-organized army. Machiavelli makes a compelling argument that good laws are a consequence of good arms. In his view, a well-structured and capable military is essential not just for the protection of a state, but also for the maintenance of order and the enforcement of laws. Without a strong military foundation, even the most well-conceived laws can become ineffective, as they lack the necessary backing to be enforced. That is why Frederick the Great's focus on military strength and legal reforms fortified Prussia's status as a major European power. His ability to modernize the military and governance illustrates Machiavelli's point that the strength of a principality is measured by its military and the quality of its laws, leading to Prussia's elevated role in European affairs. The principle that encapsulates this chapter is military might, the cornerstone of principality's strength. In Chapter 11, Machiavelli turns his analysis to a unique type of rule, those governed by religious institutions, specifically the Church. He delves into the distinctive nature of such states, which are neither acquired through fortune nor prowess, but through religious influence and institutional power. Machiavelli observes that ecclesiastical principalities enjoy a certain level of security and contentment not commonly found in other types of states. This stability, he notes, is largely due to the deep-rooted respect and reverence for religious institutions, which have been entrenched in society for centuries. Such states are maintained not through the force of arms or the whim of a ruler, but by the enduring authority of ancient religious customs and beliefs. The Papal States, and later Vatican City, have maintained their sovereignty and influence over centuries, largely due to the global adherence to the Catholic Church. This unique form of principality, underpinned by religious authority, has remained largely unchallenged and secure, illustrating Machiavelli's point about the stability provided by ecclesiastical principalities. The Church's ability to adapt while maintaining its core doctrines has helped it navigate through various historical challenges, preserving its influence. From this chapter, we derive the principle, sacred stability, the enduring power of religious principalities. In chapter 12, Machiavelli provides a detailed analysis of different types of military forces and underscores the importance of maintaining a strong, loyal army. He delves into the characteristics and effectiveness of various military troops, emphasizing the critical role they play in the stability and power of a principality. Machiavelli is particularly critical of mercenary and auxiliary forces. He argues that such troops, being motivated by personal gain rather than loyalty to the prince, are unreliable and ineffective in times of real conflict. Instead, he advocates for a prince to rely on his own forces, cultivated from his subjects. These troops, bound by loyalty and a sense of duty to their ruler and homeland, are seen as far more dependable and capable in both defending and expanding a principality. This is told by the events in the Battle of Agincourt, 1415. The English victory against a numerically superior French army was significantly due to the disciplined English longbowmen, contrasting with the French reliance on mercenary forces. This battle underscores Machiavelli's critique of mercenaries as unreliable compared to native troops. The loyalty and effectiveness of the English forces, drawn from their own populace, were pivotal in their victory, highlighting the value of a principality's own forces. The principle encapsulated in this chapter is self-reliance in defense, the merit of own forces over mercenaries. In chapter 13, Machiavelli continues his exploration of military strategies, focusing on the comparison between different types of forces. He extends his discussion on the merits and drawbacks of various military units, emphasizing the critical importance of a principality's self-reliance in its defense. Machiavelli argues strongly in favor of a prince's own troops, reiterating their reliability and loyalty compared to mercenaries or auxiliary forces. He suggests that native troops, drawn from the ruler's own populace, have a vested interest in the success and stability of their homeland, making them more committed and effective. In contrast, mercenaries and auxiliary troops, often serving for personal gain or due to external obligations, lack the same level of dedication and can be unreliable in critical situations. The success of the Continental Army, augmented by French auxiliary troops, against the British illustrates Machiavelli's observations on military composition. While the American forces were primarily composed of native troops motivated by the cause of independence, the strategic use of French auxiliary forces was crucial. However, it was the commitment of the native forces that formed the backbone of the American struggle, embodying the principle that a prince's own troops are more reliable and effective. The chapter culminates in the principle, trust in one's own, the superiority of native troops. In chapter 14, Machiavelli zeroes in on the vital role of military preparedness and expertise for a ruler. He stresses that a prince should not only maintain a strong army, but also possess a deep understanding of military matters. Machiavelli advises princes to devote significant time and effort to the study of warfare. He believes that a ruler must be well versed in the art of war to effectively lead and make informed decisions. This knowledge not only enables a prince to defend his territory, but also to gain the respect and trust of his soldiers. Machiavelli underscores that a prince's engagement with military strategy and tactics is essential for maintaining power and authority. That is why George Washington's emphasis on building a capable Continental Army and his active engagement in military strategy were key to the American victory in the Revolutionary War. His understanding of military matters and hands-on leadership approach reflect Machiavelli's advice on the importance of a prince's personal involvement in military affairs, proving essential for maintaining power and achieving political objectives. This chapter presents the principle, military mastery, the essence of princely competence. In chapter 15, Machiavelli delves into the attributes that lead to the praise or criticism of leaders. This chapter takes a pragmatic look at the perceptions of virtue and vice in the realm of leadership. Machiavelli, in his characteristic directness, argues that appearing virtuous is often more important for a prince than actually being virtuous. He suggests that the perception of possessing certain qualities can be more influential in maintaining power and authority than the actual possession of those qualities. This insight reflects Machiavelli's understanding of the complex interplay between reality and perception in politics and governance. This is why Elizabeth skillfully managed her image, emphasizing her purity and dedication to England, which garnered her widespread praise and solidified her power. Her ability to appear virtuous, even when making pragmatic political decisions, showcases Machiavelli's insight into the importance of perception in leadership. Elizabeth's reign was marked by stability and prosperity, highlighting the effectiveness of managing public perception. From this chapter, we extract the principle, perception as power, the art of appearing virtuous. In chapter 16, Machiavelli addresses the delicate balance between being seen as generous and being frugal. He explores the implications of a ruler's reputation in terms of financial generosity and the potential pitfalls associated with it. Machiavelli advises rulers to be cautious of gaining a reputation for liberality, as it can lead to exploitation and the necessity to levy higher taxes to maintain the image of generosity. He suggests that this can result in resentment among the populace. Instead, Machiavelli proposes a measured approach to generosity, one that does not burden the state's finances and avoids the trap of appearing overly parsimonious. Just like Louis XIV's extravagance, the lavish spending of Louis XV on Versailles and his court, while initially enhancing his prestige, eventually contributed to financial strain and public discontent, culminating in the conditions that sparked the French Revolution. This exemplifies Machiavelli's warning about the dangers of excessive generosity or liberality leading to financial ruin and the loss of power. The chapter concludes with the principle, prudent generosity, the balance between liberality and parsimony. In chapter 17, Machiavelli engages with one of the most enduring questions in leadership. Is it more effective for a prince to be loved or feared? This chapter dives into the complexities of human nature and governance, examining the impacts of mercy and cruelty in ruling. Machiavelli concludes that while being loved and feared are both desirable, it is safer to be feared than loved if one must choose. The rationale is that fear is a more reliable motivator than love, as love is fickle and can be withdrawn, while fear of punishment remains a constant. However, Machiavelli is quick to caution against being hated. He notes that while a prince should strive to be feared to a degree, he must avoid crossing the line into cruelty that breeds hatred, as this can lead to a ruler's downfall. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent managed to be both feared and respected, without being hated, through his just administration and military successes. His reign expanded the Ottoman Empire to its zenith and maintained internal stability, illustrating Machiavelli's principle that being feared, if not hated, can be an effective strategy for rulers, as long as they balance fear with justice. The principle encapsulated in this chapter is stated as calculated fear, the balance of being feared without being hated. In chapter 18, Machiavelli navigates the nuanced and often controversial territory of truth and deception in the exercise of power. He analyzes the value of a prince keeping his word and the circumstances in which it might be advantageous to be deceitful. Machiavelli posits that while it is commendable for a prince to keep his word, there are times when cunning and deceit can be more effective tools in maintaining and exercising power. He argues that a successful ruler must be adept at understanding when to adhere to promises and when to employ deceit for the greater benefit of the principality. This perspective underscores Machiavelli's pragmatic, results-oriented approach to governance, where the ends often justify the means. Bismarck's strategic use of diplomacy and occasional deceit in unifying Germany underlines the effectiveness of Machiavelli's advice on not always keeping one's word. Bismarck's manipulation of international relations and internal politics, while controversial, ultimately led to the successful unification of Germany, showcasing the pragmatic value of strategic honesty and deceit. The chapter culminates in the principle, strategic honesty, the utility of deceit in leadership. In chapter 19, Machiavelli concentrates on the essential aspects of maintaining a prince's dignity and steering clear of public hatred. He provides insights into how a ruler can manage their image and relationships with both subjects and allies to ensure a stable and respected reign. Machiavelli emphasizes the importance of not only avoiding actions that might lead to hatred or contempt, but also actively engaging in practices that foster respect and loyalty. He advises rulers to be mindful of their conduct, decisions, and the way they interact with their subjects and allies. By doing so, a prince can avoid the pitfalls that often lead to unrest and rebellion. the fall of the Roman Republic. The internal divisions, political corruption, and contempt for traditional republican values contributed to the collapse of the Roman Republic. This transition to autocratic rule under Augustus illustrates the dangers of losing the respect of the populace, highlighting Machiavelli's advice on the importance of a ruler maintaining dignity and avoiding actions that breed contempt or hatred. The chapter presents the principle, dignified leadership, the art of avoiding hatred and contempt. In Chapter 20, Machiavelli delves into the strategic use of fortresses and other physical means of defense and control. He examines whether such measures are genuinely effective in maintaining a prince's power and security. Machiavelli concludes that while fortresses and similar defenses can be beneficial, the most crucial defense for a prince is maintaining good relationships with his subjects. He argues that the loyalty and support of the people are more valuable than any physical stronghold. According to Machiavelli, a prince who is loved and respected by his subjects will find them to be a more reliable safeguard than the most formidable fortress. Conversely, if a prince is hated, no fortress will protect him from the internal threat of rebellion or betrayal. In history, France's reliance on the Maginot Line for defense against German invasion in World War II demonstrates the limitations of physical defenses without the support of a flexible and committed military strategy. Despite the line's strength, it was circumvented, showing that the loyalty and morale of the people, along with adaptive military tactics, are more crucial for defense, aligning with Machiavelli's insight on the importance of people's support over physical fortifications. The principle distilled from this chapter is relational fortitude, the primacy of people over physical defenses. In Chapter 21, Machiavelli offers guidance on the actions that can earn a prince respect and admiration from his subjects and peers. He delves into the characteristics and behaviors that enhance a ruler's reputation and stature. Machiavelli stresses the importance of undertaking great achievements and setting a positive example. He suggests that a prince should engage in notable endeavors that showcase his competence, wisdom, and virtue. These actions not only elevate the prince's standing, but also instill a sense of pride and loyalty among his subjects. Additionally, setting a good example in his personal and public life helps a prince earn respect and admiration, further solidifying his rule. Nelson Mandela's leadership focus on reconciliation, democracy, and social justice earned him global respect and admiration, both during and after his presidency of South Africa. His significant achievements and moral leadership exemplify Machiavelli's advice on the actions that earn a prince's esteem, demonstrating the lasting power of leading by example and pursuing great achievements for the common good. The principle encapsulated in this chapter is exemplary leadership, the pursuit of respect through achievement and virtue. In Chapter 22, Machiavelli turns his attention to the crucial role of advisors and ministers in the governance of a principality. He explores the dynamics of this relationship and the impact it has on the effectiveness of a ruler. Machiavelli emphasizes the significance of wise counsel, advocating for the selection of advisors based on intelligence, loyalty, and honesty. He warns against the dangers of flattery, suggesting that it can lead to misguided decisions and ultimately weaken the prince's rule. According to Machiavelli, a wise prince should seek counsel that is grounded in reality and honesty, even if it is not always what he wishes to hear. The successful reign of Elizabeth I, supported by the wise counsel of her secretary, William Cecil, underscores the value of surrounding oneself with competent and honest advisors. Cecil's honest and prudent advice helped navigate England through various internal and external challenges, embodying Machiavelli's principle on the importance of wise counsel and the dangers of flattery. The principle derived from this chapter is the wisdom of counsel, navigating leadership with honest advisement. In Chapter 23, Machiavelli addresses a common pitfall in the corridors of power, the presence and influence of flatterers. He provides practical advice on how a prince can recognize and steer clear of flattering courtiers whose primary aim is to deceive or manipulate for their own benefit. Machiavelli emphasizes the importance of discerning genuine advice from flattery. He encourages princes to foster an environment where honest feedback is valued, and advisors are not afraid to speak the truth, even if it may be unpleasant. This approach, he suggests, helps in making sound decisions and maintaining a clear perspective on the state of affairs. Machiavelli warns that falling prey to flattery can lead to isolation, poor judgment, and ultimately, the erosion of a ruler's power. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, renowned for his philosophical wisdom and effective leadership, Marcus Aurelius sought the counsel of Stoic philosophers and advisors who provided him with honest feedback. His ability to welcome truthful counsel over flattery allowed him to make decisions that were in the best interest of the Roman Empire, reflecting Machiavelli's advice on the importance of surrounding oneself with honesty rather than flattery. The principle from this chapter is stated as, "Guard against flattery, the value of truthful counsel." In chapter 24, Machiavelli conducts an insightful analysis into the reasons behind the downfall of various Italian princes. He examines the political landscape of Italy, identifying key factors that led to the loss of power and control by these rulers. Machiavelli attributes the failures of these princes primarily to their neglect of military preparedness and lack of political foresight. He points out that many of them failed to maintain strong, loyal armies and were overly reliant on mercenary forces, which proved to be their undoing. Additionally, Machiavelli criticizes their short-sightedness in political matters, noting that they were often unable to anticipate changes in the political landscape or to adapt their strategies accordingly. The constant warfare, political machinations, and failure to anticipate foreign invasions led to the downfall of many Italian city-states during Machiavelli's time. Their inability to unify or adequately prepare for external threats exemplifies the consequences of neglecting military preparedness and political foresight, directly relating to Machiavelli's analysis of the failures of Italian princes. The principle that emerges from this chapter is forethought and preparedness, keys to sustaining power. In chapter 25, Machiavelli explores the concept of fortune and its influence on human affairs, particularly in the realm of political leadership. He acknowledges the significant role that luck and circumstances play in the success or failure of princes and states. However, Machiavelli argues that while fortune is a powerful force, it is not absolute. He believes that its impact can be mitigated through careful preparation and boldness. According to him, a wise and courageous prince can shape his own destiny to a certain extent, steering through the unpredictability of fortune with strategic planning and decisive action. Machiavelli emphasizes that leaders should not be passive recipients of fortune's whims, but should actively work to counter its influence. Henry V of France's unexpected rise to the throne amidst the French wars of religion, and his pragmatic conversion to Catholicism to secure his rule, illustrate Machiavelli's notion of fortune and its opposition. Henry IV's bold decisions and preparations for ruling a divided France showcase how fortune's influence can be mitigated by strategic action and adaptability, ultimately leading to his successful reign and the initiation of the Edict of Nantes. The principle distilled from this chapter is navigating fortune, the interplay of preparation and boldness. In the concluding chapter 26, Machiavelli shifts from theoretical discourse to a passionate appeal. He calls for the unification and liberation of Italy from foreign dominance, which had plagued the country during his time. This chapter serves as a rousing conclusion to his treatise, marked by a fervent patriotic spirit. Machiavelli's call is for a strong and capable leader, one who can rise above the internal strife and external domination that fragmented Italy. He envisions a leader who can restore Italy's pride and independence, bringing together the fractured states under a single banner of Italian unity. This plea is rooted in Machiavelli's deep-seated belief in the potential of a unified Italy and his desire to see his homeland rise to its former glory. The Italian unification, Risorgimento, the unification of Italy under leaders like Giuseppe Garibaldi and Count Cavour in the 19th century, realized Machiavelli's call for a unifying figure to restore Italy's pride and independence. Their strategic diplomacy and military campaigns against foreign control and divided principalities fulfilled Machiavelli's exhortation, leading to the establishment of a unified Kingdom of Italy, thereby ending centuries of foreign domination and internal division. The principle that encapsulates this final chapter is the call for unity, a vision for national resurgence. And that brings us to the end of our exploration of Niccolò Machiavelli's The Prince. I hope this journey through Machiavelli's insights has provided a thought-provoking perspective on power and leadership. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you liked what you saw, a like would mean the world to me. It helps support the channel and lets me know you want to see more content like this. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.